I want to start this off with a poem. For you to trust yourself, you must crack through the cocoon of comfort and swim in the belly of fear and euphoria. And know that in this ocean of discomfort that you won't drown, that you can float and forgive yourself here. Trust. The conversation of trust and the word trust is so nuanced and so exponential, so grandiose, because it's such a term that is thrown in so many different scenarios and contexts. It's like so broad, you feel me? But it's the ultimatum in one's trajectory from the cradle to the grave. Trust. Trust in the self. How can one, pardon me, yo. How can one unconditionally seek refuge in the trust in themselves and realize that no matter where they go, the ebbs and flows, the asymptotes to the pitfalls of this life, that they can always return to themselves because they trust themselves? How can one even do that? I don't want to come on this video and act like I'm some type of guru, or you feel me? I'm not even one of those that's trying to paint a facade. The trust in myself kind of falters and kind of fluctuates, if you will, but I think I've trusted myself more in the past couple years, you know, my adulthood versus like when I was a youngin', for sure. Being able to even speak on a camera is an instance of some trust that I've had in myself, because, dude, I wouldn't even be the type to even chat to people in general, man. I was a real quiet, you know what I mean, reflective type of dude. Had my friends, of course, but I was a quiet individual, man, you feel me? And I was like so hesitant. Oftentimes because I would grow up in modes of fear, of paranoia, whether that's what's from inheriting that from my own family, my own parents, or just my environment, my neighborhood in which I grew up around. Paranoia, anxiety, fear, man, those things that I feel like I was low-key brought up in, you feel me? And I've had to break those chains. So I think I've evolved, and I think in my evolution I can speak on this. How does one trust themselves? Forgiveness. 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 At the crux, at the precipice of trusting oneself is because they've came to a point where they've forgiven themselves. That they've accepted the impartiality of themselves as humans, and not letting the impartiality of themselves judge how they maneuvered in the past, and how they're going to continue to maneuver, even with an evolved state of mind. A lot of us, as cliche as it may sound, cliches have purpose, I believe, but a lot of us carry fragments of certain events, moments, instances, sometimes people, places. We carry these fragments within us internally. How we should have did this in this moment. How we regretted that we did this in this moment. How the lack of doing something also can be something that we keep with us. All these different moments and instances and kind of different phenotypes, right? These kind of variations we carry with us. And what these fragments do is they kind of compound interest amongst each other. They kind of intertwine. They find the commonality between each other internally, and they kind of weave themselves together. And then they create these illusions, these caricatures, if you will. And they nurture, not nurture, but they feast at the trust and the confidence internally until they become its own entity internally, holding you hostage, almost become surveying you at all times. that dynamic internally creates it so that it's hard for even the common individual, to even break through that before they can even trust themselves, because they're so riddled in this internal surveillance. They're so riddled in this judgment from so nuanced, because now it's like a blend of all of these different moments and events and what you could not have done, could have eat you alive. I'm speaking specifically from personal experience. You feel me? Like, eat you alive. But you gotta make a choice. You gotta make a choice of when does it stop. The acceptance of all of these moments that have happened and have occurred in your life. How do you make them stop? And it's for forgiveness. It's by forgiveness. It's by standing on the forgiveness. It's by allowing yourself to see that amid all of these different moments, here you stand in this present moment, inhaling and exhaling, still alive. That reassurance should be more than enough to make you realize that no matter what you have gone through, whatever you're going to continue going through, that is, if as long as you can look in yourself earnestly into the mirror, accept the pitfalls, accept the gracious moments, accept all of the moments, the lucky moments, that you can look and find your soul. And by finding your soul, you realize the impartiality, the imperfect nature of yourself by default being a human. When you can accept that thoroughly, consistently, every day, from the more mundane aspects of your life to the more complex aspects of your life, you can look into the mirror and find your soul. You break out of those elements of illusion, of caricatures that your past has riddled you in, and you liberate yourself. You become free. And I think that's when you trust yourself wholeheartedly, for a fact. There's so much life to be lived. There's so much power to be affirmed within when we make the choices for ourselves to forgive ourselves, man. You got to. You can't even let a couple of the fragments hit. You got to allow yourself to thoroughly move on, And it takes time. This is not a how-to, like, quick, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is like you're going to do it in 5 minutes. Nah, a lot of us, we want things to happen so fast that we forget that by sometimes doing it fast is not doing it thoroughly. Sometimes you got to do things thoroughly, and that takes time and effort and re-cleansing and recalibration and rediscovery. So much things as your break, because it's such a, like I said, it's such a nuanced thing that kind of is looped. If you ever try to, like, for example, I'm sure y'all had like headphones at some point, or like them like little AirPod headphones, whatever. Whenever it's like you see, sometimes your thing get wrapped up and looped up. You feel me? You can't just rip it apart, and then it's just, if you can, you are a GOAT and you are incredible, right? Like, if you could just unravel it and just make it like, you know, how it was when you first got it, then you're a GOAT. Like, you don't even need my advice, bro. You feel me? You don't even need this video. It's like, nah, but the reason why I bring that analogy up is because it's such a convoluted and such a complex thing that you got to take your time. This knot, you got to take your time with that knot to bring it, you feel me? And then just kind of keep maneuvering. It takes time. These type of things take time. And so the reason why I say this is because I think this analogy applies perfectly to trusting yourself, and maybe just all just modes. It takes time. It takes undoing and then redoing them in a different way in order to fully get to a point of true solace and acceptance. I think acceptance equals confidence, and then confidence equals trust. You know, so For me, at least. That's what I've seen. That's what I've seen. You know. But life is a funny thing, though, man. It's going to constantly question how you view yourself, how you view yourself in conjunction to other things, in conjunction to your community, your environment. Is always going to put you in context or in contrast to the things that you care about. And I think it's always a return to the inner self, to return to the inner voice, to look at the mirror and to say unwaveringly, unconditionally that I can look into my soul wherever, whenever, with whoever that I am, that I'm with, that I'm around, and I can find my soul. I can find my soul. You know what I'm saying? So that's ultimately what I would say. And then even adding on to that, what I would say that is important and I think pinnacle in trusting yourself is by allowing yourself the reps of failure, to the point that failure nor success has a positive or negative connotation in your heart. That the reps that you do, regardless of the outcome is secondary. It's the fact that you did it. The fact that you said you was going to do something, that you said you was going to talk to this person or write this thing, and then you did it. The success or the failure, that's a bonus. Both outcomes. But you did it. You said you was going to do it and you did it, and you did not penalize yourself. You did not judge yourself. You said, okay, I did it and I'm happy that I did it. We let sometimes surveillance, and I think it might be due to the digital world and the digital kind of era that we're in, but I think we let surveillance erode the beauty of us simply saying that we're going to do something and then doing it, because we apply it so much to numbers, to vanity, to comparison, to all of these things that I'm sure you've heard about. But because everything is in such heavy surveillance, we don't allow ourselves just to be fulfilled by the fact that we said we were going to do something and then we did it. That's trust. That's an unconditional trust. That's the more sustainable approach. Because let's say you get successful, but then you're constantly looking for something outside of yourself to validate what you're doing and who you're doing it for, all of these things. It will never give you the fulfillment for a long span of time. And I'm saying this to y'all because these are things that I am constantly reflecting on and I am working through, realizing that no matter what numbers or what this or what that or whatever, man, if I cannot look into my mirror, if I can't look into the canvases that I choose to express myself through and find my voice, find myself, then I can't trust myself. And that dynamic is the only way that we can trust ourselves. So I also wanted to add that element in there as well. If you say you're going to do something, do it, regardless of the outcome. That's how you build that rapport with yourself. That's how you build it. I don't want to overly talk y'all, man. That was kind of my thoughts right now, but forgive yourself and then act with yourself. I'm gonna holler at y'all, man. Peace.